Hey everyone, I'm going to film my review of Throne of Glass. I know most of you have probably already read this, but I'm going to give my opinion on the book. I really enjoyed it. I listened to it on Audible. Since I have a long commute to work and school and stuff, I don't get that much time to actually physically read. I do try to still make time for it, but Audible is the easiest way. I do have a physical copy of Throne of Glass. I love this cover. It's really pretty. The colors go really well together. They're not too bright. It's my idea of a fantasy cover. I really like the cover. And for those of y'all who really enjoy fantasy, you probably really love maps, and there is a map included, and I love it. I would love to have it printed and hung on my wall, but I don't really know how to go about doing that. So if any of you guys do, just let me know. I really like maps and looking at them. It really puts an essence into where everything is and in relation to everything else. So I was glad that there was a map included. As far as this book goes as a whole, I'm gonna rate it 3.5 stars on Goodreads, which is kind of low for me. I usually rate pretty high, but I had some issues with this book, which I'll go over. This review will contain a spoiler section and a non-spoiler section. I will start with the spoiler section first. That way, if any of you have not read the book yet, you can pause it, and I will give you plenty of warning and plenty of time to pause before I go into the spoilers. That being said, the non-spoiler section will be pretty brief because it's really hard to give a strong opinion of a book without giving even the smallest things away. And I know when I'm reading a book review of a book I haven't read yet, I hate the tiniest spoilers. So my non-spoiler section will be first, and it'll be pretty brief. So let's jump right into it. So Moss builds a very complex world from the start. The world building was probably one of the better parts of this book. The thing I would complain about is probably the main character, Selena. Keep in mind, all of Moss's character names are just out there, which is a good part of her writing. But Selena is the main character. She is thrown into this competition to be the king's champion, and she's competing against a large amount of people. My issue with Selena, that all of you who have not read the book probably have already heard about, is that her description of an assassin is not an assassin at all. It's more like a girl with her feet propped up doing her nails. She reminds me of a valley girl who never gets her feet dirty, who has never killed a single person. So her description as an assassin, in my opinion, was not well done at all. Now, the captain's guard and the king's son, the prince, Chaos, the captain's guard, his character is written really well. I really enjoy him, and I know Moss has a book coming out about just his character, and I'm really looking forward to that. I'll pre-order that. And Dorian, we don't go into too much about him. We do know a little bit about his relationship with his father and how that implements the story. But as far as character and character growth, we don't get too much of in this book. And I know it's the first book in like a 6-book series, but I was really hoping for some more character growth. Selena just doesn't live up to the hype of an assassin, and I just don't picture her as a killer at all. And in fact, in the book, you will see it just doesn't get any better. So I'm hoping in the next book we will get more about how she's an assassin, or some of those traits an assassin has that Moss has not given her in this first book. The world building, like I said, is really good. The environment of a competition is one that I much enjoy. I'm trying to think of more things that are not spoiler-ish. There's a little bit of a mystery. There is a love triangle. For those of you who hate love triangles, it's not a huge part of this book, but much of it is a little bit of trashy young adult romance that I try to look past and look deeper into the story. I know I see a lot of people do not finishing at 50%, but once you get past 50%, if you're reading this for fantasy, the fantasy aspects of it really come into play after 50%. So if you can just hold on and get through that part, it gets better. It really does get better. There are parts when I wanted to quit in the beginning, but I looked at people who had already wrote statuses about it on Goodreads, and they're like, just make it through the 50%. So I did, and it does get better. The story depth, it grows. There's much more that happens after 50%, especially for those of you who like fantasy. There's more fantasy elements that come into play later. I highly recommend the book because it's the first in the series. I know I've given it a kind of fairly low rating for my rating scale, but I do recommend the book. It was definitely an adventure, And like I said, after about 50%, it does get better. So just hang in there. Now, after this, I'll give you time to pause. If you have not read the book, please do not listen any farther because there will be spoilers, and I do not want to spoil anything for you. So I'm going to pause for a second and give you guys time if you haven't read the book yet. So for those of you who are leaving, bye. Thank you for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. There will be more reviews to come to continue on in the series, and hopefully after you've read the book, you can come back and watch the end of this video. Okay. So, for those of you who hopefully have sticked around, have read the book, you know the ending, you know how everything goes, so I will give my review of that part. So, we have Celaena, who's coming from the salt mines into this royalty and meeting all these new people, and now is in a competition, and then the murders start. So, who has done the murders? Who knows? When I was going through and reading this, I had no idea, and I'm pretty intuitive into it. They lead you down Nehemia's track. I thought maybe it was Nehemia. That would be really interesting to see that Celaena's best friend turns out to be a murderer, seeing that she doesn't have those traits. It really aggravates me that Celaena doesn't have the traits of an assassin. But would be okay if Nehemia would have been it, but turns out she clearly wasn't. Cain was my next guess because he's kind of like the douchebag of the story. So I was like, it has to be him. It turns out it was. No surprise there, really. I didn't start getting down that track until much later in the book, but for the majority of the book, I had no idea. So good job there, Moss. You kept that hidden. That was really interesting. The whole essence of a competition, I loved that. I knew she was going to win, even though I was hoping there would be some kind of something that stops her from winning. Although there almost was, and that would have been really interesting to see what would happen if she hadn't had one and somehow stayed in the palace and in the royalty life. That would have been really interesting. And then you have Chaol dealing with killing Cain, and I think it's good that Moss gives him traits that are sympathetic to the fact that he did that, and that wasn't like, oh, I killed him, he deserved it, and then that was the end of it. Like, Chaol's dealing with this act that he had to do for Celaena because Cain was just destroying her. And then Kaltain being on the side, we'll call it the bad side, but trying to poison her. But since she has the friendship with Elena, I really enjoyed that. Actually, I don't think her name's pronounced Elena. There's a pronunciation guide in the back, but it's like Elena or something. But I loved that aspect of the story. That's where the fantasy play came in with the word marks and it being hidden behind a brick wall was like awesome for a fantasy reader. Like that part of itself was really exciting for me. Like every time she would like move the tapestry to go back there, like I really enjoyed that part. And her and Elena's relationship, or Elena or whatever, was really interesting. Seeing that she came to her rescue and saved her. And the whole look to your right, I really enjoyed that because that's like which is another really interesting element. Moss throws in a lot of like tiny things that I really enjoy, like the look to your right thing and it being behind a brick wall. I know those are small things, but sometimes writers leave those things out. The like small world building, not like your large, here's this place, and this is how they all connect world building, but like your small world building. I'm a huge fan of that, and I think Moss did a really good job of that. All in all, I'm really looking forward to continuing the series now that she's won the competition. She's friends with Nehemia, and Nehemia has some weird power that we don't really know about. I'm really interested to learn more about the king and why his eyes turn black. I know that there's some sort of magical fantasy element going on with that, but I'm really excited to learn in the next book, hopefully, what's going on with all that and maybe what power Celaena may have. Who knows? And I'm really interested to learn how the other places around the castle and the other countries and the rebels that Nehemia is possibly representing. I'm really interested to see how that goes. And the missions that the king might send her on. I'm hoping that we will learn more about Celaena being an assassin, and maybe we'll see some of her characteristics. Overall, I think Moss did an okay job for starting a series. I definitely see it going a long way, and I'm really excited for it. So I will be listening to the next book. I have it downloaded on Audible, and I will be starting that this week. So as soon as I get through that, I will post a review of the update and let you guys know how I'm liking the second book. I'm probably going to listen to it straight through because I will be reading another book along the way at the same time, so I won't get tired of the series. Sometimes if I read book 1, book 2, book 3, book 4 over and over and over again, like straight through, I get tired of the characters and of the world. So I'm going to read something else at the same time when I can find time so that I don't get tired of them, which I don't see happening. I see this world really expanding and really growing, and I'm really excited for it. One downfall, though, was the romance. It was so cheesy. I did not like it. It was rather pathetic, but I'm hoping that gets better. So high hopes for the series. Overall, I'm giving this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars, which is kind of low for me, but I think the next book will definitely be probably a 4 or 5 out of 5 stars, so we'll see. Super excited. Thank you guys for watching. Be looking for my next video, which will be a review of the X-Files Origin book that has came out recently. So I will be going through my thoughts and feelings of that, and I greatly thank you for watching this video. So look for my review on Goodreads. I'll post a link below again to my link to my Goodreads account. So add me on Goodreads, become friends, message me, we'll talk about books. So I really appreciate it, guys, and I hope you guys have a good night.